Hello everyone, Shroomraver here, and today I am doing something that I have not done in a long time, because today I am starting a new series of videos of competitive Pokemon League content. Yes indeed, your boy is back. I'm doing competitive Pokemon. I've joined a new league, which is very exciting. I haven't done this in a very long time. I was told about this league by my man Kyle, K to the 2. He recommended that I try and get involved, and I applied, and I am in the Twitch Battle League is the name of the league that I am in. So, I haven't done this for a long time. Why now? Why am I getting involved now? Well, this league in particular is it's a lower tier league. The kind of Pokemon you're looking at here, if you're looking at sort of laddering stuff, is like top tier RU, bottom tier UU, and below. A lot of the consummate league threats, the stuff you see in OU all the time, like your Dragapults, your Landuruses, your Thunduruses, all that stuff, Mews, all that stuff, not involved, not in this. The top tier threats that you're looking at here are the kind of, like I say, upper tier RU, lower tier UU, your Grimmsnarls, your Blazikens, those are the top tier stuff in this league. And if I was to be known for anything when it comes to Pokemon League content, it's trying to get the most out of lower tier threats. So I thought, why not test my mettle against people trying to do the same? It's my kind of thing. I thought this was going to be really good fun, so I got myself involved. Now, how does this league work? Well, there are 16 participants split into groups of 8, and they're in their own kind of side-by-side leagues. Half are taking part on Wi-Fi, and half are taking part on Showdown. I am in the latter. And the way this works is that you are paired with someone from the other group. So there's 8 pairs of 2, one in Wi-Fi, one in Showdown, and they're like a team, their own little team. So I have been paired with my boy Quincy Adams of the Raging Shrooms, which is a brilliant thing because we're both mushroom based. I have a new team for this because his team mascot is Breloom. I thought I'd do the same, so you'll see I have a new team. We are not Parasect Germain, we are not Crystal Paras, we are going as Leyton Spore-ient, and together we form, myself and Quincy, the Mushroom Kingdom, and that's all very good fun. So, what am I using? Who is my team? Well, the way this ran is that it was a snake draft format. Everyone, though, from both divisions were drafting at the same time, which is very interesting. I was number 5 in the draft. So let's get into who I decided to draft. We had a budget of 100 points. You had to get 11 Pokemon, and you could use as many of those 100 points as you wanted. So, who did I draft? Well, first up, I wanted someone who I could absolutely rely on. An old favourite has returned to my team. My first pick is going to be Tyrantrum. You know how I feel about Tyrantrum. I used Tyrantrum back in PPL Season 2 and MVP'd it to take the championship. So the thing about Tyrantrum here is, in general league format, there are only so many things that can switch into Tyrantrum. Now, when you're looking at lower tier stuff, there's even fewer. There's only really a handful of things that really want to switch into Tyrantrum, and I think that this guy could really make a big impact for me. It's such a spammable head smash, really, in this league. Like I say, only a handful of things really want to switch into it. You're looking at the likes of Hitmontop, Swampert, Quagsire, maybe an Evile like Crocroc, because the things like Landorus and Crocodile that want to switch into it, they're not in this league. So Tyrantrum is looking like it has pretty free reign to do a lot of things. So that's my first pick. This isn't going to be too much of an in-depth thing, this is just telling you who I drafted. Second pick, I wanted someone else that I've used, and I really enjoy. It's a very underrated fairy, and that is going to be Whimsicott. A lot of the things that Tyrantrum want to switch into Tyrantrum don't want to switch into Whimsicott. Think of the ones I just mentioned, your likes of Swampert, Hitmontop, Quagsire. Whimsicott really does well against those, and it's one of the fastest things in the entire league. Give it Prankster as well, and it can be very tricksy. I love using Whimsicott. I think an offensive Whimsicott set is very underrated. People don't necessarily see it coming. And I think that it's going to be really nice for getting some useful initiative, doing tricksy things, and allowing Tyrantrum to really do its thing. So third in the draft, and this is where I made a huge mistake. What I should have done here is immediately drafted Mesprit. Mesprit was on my list of things that I wanted. I thought it was going to do me a really good service. But there are so many Psychic types in this particular draft pool that I thought maybe Mesprit would cycle back to me, and I wanted to complete that ever-present Fairy Dragon Steel core, as well as get something that, like Tyrantrum and Whimsicott, I've used a fair amount. This is a Pokemon I've never used in draft format whatsoever, but I hear great things about it, and that's going to be Magneton. Magneton is my first dual screenser. It's an electric type that's always necessary, completes the Fairy Dragon Steel, which is an odd trio in my case, Tyrantrum, Whimsicott, Magneton, but I think it's going to do a lot of work. You've got Whimsicott with very fast initiative, Magneton is kind of middling speed initiative as well, and it's very powerful, more powerful than you might imagine. In a Violet set can do a lot of work. There are many things that I think Magneton is going to be able to do very well here. I'm excited to give it a go. So after Magneton, I was hoping that Mesprit would come back to me, but it didn't. So my next option was going to be Uxie, and that went also in this round. So neither of my two levitating Psychic types were available for me to take. So what I decided to do was get myself a nice special nuke, and go with a Pokemon that I've wanted to use for a very long time in draft and never really got round to it, and that's going to be Espeon. Espeon is really useful here. Hazards are not as big as they used to be with the advent of heavy duty boots, but in the lower tiers there are a lot of sticky web users, so I wanted something that could bounce that back if needs be. It's risky because a lot of sticky web users are bug types, but I think Espeon's going to be really useful here. It's a very underrated threat, people don't necessarily see it coming, but 130 special attack and 110 speed is very powerful indeed, and I think Espeon is going to be a great advent to the team. So following these, we get to a few rounds where I managed to get a lot of things that I wanted. I ummed and ahed about my 5th round pick. I was looking into Tentacruel because I wanted something water type, something bulky. I also wanted hazard removal and ideally grounded poison. Now those are going to come later because I ended up not taking Tentacruel. I went in slightly a different direction and got a different jellyfish based thing and went with Jellicent. Jellicent is fantastic in latter generations. With the advent of Strength Sap, just one move has made Jellicent really, really good indeed. Its natural special bulk lends it well to a specially defensive wall, and giving it the likes of Strength Sap and Will-O-Wisp make it very difficult to take down on either side if you're running the right set. It's bulky, it's specially powerful. Special attack of 85 is not bad, you know. We've seen weirder things than a Specs Jellicent going for Water Spout. I've used Jellicent before and didn't get the most out of it, so I'm thinking in a format where there are a lot of lower tier threats, I think Jellicent might be able to really hold its own. So after Jellicent, round 6, I was looking into normal types. You know me, you know how I play. I love bulky normal types. Porygon 2 is one of the most drafted things of all time. But of course, Porygon 2 is not in this particular meta, so I couldn't take it. I don't think Snorlax is here either, so I couldn't take that. So what I went with is something that I think is going to be a very, very powerful sleeper pick here at round 6. I went with Kangaskhan. Kangaskhan is a lot better than people give it credit for, I think. It's got that normal type massive move pool. A lot of them are physical. 95 physical attack is very good. Now, ignoring its special attack of 40, stats across the board, 105 HP, 95 attack, 80 in both defenses and 90 speed, that's really good! And it's got a massive move pool. It can go all kinds of ways. It can go with the very powerful attacking set, it's got useful setup, it's a very good Assault Vest setup user, with the likes of an Assault Vest Power Up Punch, Drain Punch set, especially paired with Scrappy, allowing it to hit those ghosts. It's also a Wish user, which is super nice. You can run a very useful Seismic Toss Wish stalling set if needs be, and again, that paired with Scrappy is super useful. Kangaskhan is going to be something of a useful pick for me. Passing 105 wishes, but able to also hit very hard, that's excellent. I think Kangaskhan has all the makings of an excellent Pokemon for this team. I'm really happy to have grabbed it. So we come to round 7. I needed a ground type. I also needed something with hazards. Tyrantrum being my only hazard setter at the moment, and me having no hazard removal other than reflecting it back with Espeon and Defog on Whimsicott was not ideal. So I said that Porygon 2 is one of my most drafted Pokemon, but given the circumstances, excuse me, given the circumstances, I absolutely could not resist taking by far and away my most drafted Pokemon of all time. I went with Sandslash. I know I always go with Sandslash. Sandslash is such a comfort pick for me. I absolutely love it. It's much more of a more willing Stealth Rock user than Tyrantrum. It also gives me my first Rapid Spinner, and it gives me Spikes. Yes, Sandslash got Spikes this generation, and that could be super useful as well. It's just a comfort pick. I know how to get the most out of Sandslash. I've done it consistently for a long period of time in Draft League, and I think Sandslash is going to be useful. You know, I always love using it. A nice, solid defensive mon that can run an AV set if needs be. It's my favourite form of hazard control in Pokemon, basically. I love Sandslash. Not mad about taking it again. So now we're getting down to the final tail end of the draft, and I'm looking at my resistances. I'm looking at my weaknesses, and Ice and Ground is such a problem for this team. Like I said, I really wanted Mesprit for the natural Levitate, but I couldn't get it. And Ice was starting to become an issue for me. Ground was starting to become an issue for me as well. So I needed something that can take on both of those. I was also looking at my draft, and you know, Tyrantrum had the highest defense stat on my team. Sandslash had the next highest, and after that came Magneton, which is not ideal, especially defensively. I had Jellicent with my highest, and the next highest is Espeon. So bulk was not my friend at this point, and you know that I love to have my bulk. So what do you do when you need something that can avoid ground type moves? You want something that can be very defensive on either side and still maintain an offensive presence. You also want ideally an ice type resistance. What do you do when that happens in the lower tiers? You take Rotom Frost, is exactly what you do. Rotom Frost gives me another defog user, and again with the advent of heavy duty boots, it doesn't mind those stealth rocks. It's immune to all other forms of hazards anyway. Hazards are not my biggest thing, so I don't mind defog being a primary form of getting rid of hazards. It's a very willing screen setter, is Rotom Frost. It's got Nasty Plot now, which is very useful on Rotom, and especially Rotom Frost, given that it's got stab bolt beam coverage in the form of Blizzard Thunderbolt with Nasty Plot on there as well, and a decent speed stat of 86. That's not bad at all. I used to use Rotom Frost way back when I did just regular competitive battling in the lower tiers, and it was an absolute stalwart for me. I love a defensive Rotom Frost. I think it's great. So I'm happy to have it back. I've never used a Rotom form in League outside of regular Rotom and Rotom Heat. I've never used any of the others, so I'm excited to see what Rotom Frost can do for me. So, looking towards, again, the tail end, I really wanted some more physical offense. You know, with Rotom adding to Magneton and Espeon, that's a decent amount of special attack, and others can kind of put in work here and there, the likes of Jellicent and especially Whimsicott. I will happily use an especially offensive role. But like I say, my attacking stats are much like my defensive stats. My highest ones are looking at Tyrantrum and then Sandslash. So I wanted a physical monster, and I also wanted a dark type. Remember earlier I said that psychic types were very prevalent in this particular league? I needed something that could switch into psychic type moves and then hit back super hard. And Drapion would have been my first choice, but that went so far back. That went like round 2 or 3, very understandably. So what I ended up doing was going with another sort of semi-favourite Pokemon of mine. I ended up going with Absol. Absol brings 130 base attack and middling stats everywhere else, but it's got some cool toys to play with and some new things too in this generation. Its middling speed is made up for by Sucker Punch. It gets a decent amount of setup, useful moves on the side, Play Rough. It now gets close combat, which is really useful indeed for taking on opposing dark types and the steel types that would happily switch into a physical attacker. I'm excited for Absol. It's also, funnily enough, it's another Wish user, and it gets Will-O-Wisp and Thunderwave, Priority, Knockoff, Initiative, Setup, all this good stuff. Absol is a bit too frail to be a support Pokemon too often, but if you have a spare slot on it and you just want to throw another move on there, throw on Willow, throw on T-Wave, hell, throw on Wish. 65 base HP isn't the biggest, but it's still going to be better than a slap in the face. So I decided, yes, go with Absol, why not? So after Absol, 2 picks left. I actually had like 18 points left to spend because the tail end of my draft is quite cheap and I didn't go above 13 out of a maximum 16 that you could spend on any given Pokemon. So I had a decent amount of funds to play with. Now, I wanted more hazards. I know that I've said I've got more default than spin, but I still wanted a bit more in the way of hazards. I wanted Excelgor for this, but Excelgor went. It got sniped. I got sniped a whole host in this league. Let me tell you, things that I wanted that went that I couldn't get included Swampert, Galarian Moltres, Crobat, Seismitoad, Drapion, Registeel, Mesprit, Uxie, Hitmonchan, Magmortar, Lipod, Hitmonlee, and Excelgor. I noted all these down because I'm very salty about these things. But yes, couldn't get Excelgor. So what I went with was someone who could stack hazards, also get rid of hazards, and again have offensive prowess in the form of some very potent, one of the most potent setup moves in the game. A Pokemon that I've never used in League format, a Pokemon I've seen used quite well in League format, albeit situationally. I ended up going with Omastar. Omastar was quite cheap. It cost me 7 of my remaining 18, but all forms of hazards except Sticky Web. It also gets Rapid Spin, it also gets, as I say, that ever-present Shell Smash. It can go Knockoff as well, that's a move that it gets and is always very useful. This is a Pokemon that once you've got very specific checks and counters out of the way, Omastar becomes a monstrous threat if you can get that Shell Smash up. And especially with decent defenses, 70, 1, 2, 5, 70 are not bad. Yes, it's quad weak to grass. Yes, it has several weaknesses here and there. But Omastar is a Pokemon that if you start letting it do its thing, it's going to be a problem for opposing teams. But I'm happily going to use it in a defensive role as well. Like I say, it's got Rock Spikes and T-Spikes, it's got Rapid Spin, it's got Knockoff, it's got all kinds of nasty support things that can do a whole host of nasty things to opposing teams. So Omastar is my penultimate pick. And now we get on to the final pick. I had a lot of money to spend here. I had 11 points left and I intend to spend all of them. There are things that my team was missing. A fighting type was something that I really wanted. Very much so. I wanted to even out some of my strengths and weaknesses in terms of type effectiveness here and there. Fighting is very useful. I also wanted grounded poison, heavy duty boots, and a defogger who's immune to grounded hazards aside. I still wanted something that could come in and just get rid of toxic spikes immediately, because toxic spikes are kind of king these days. They're getting much more prevalent in all kinds of metas. So something, again, offensive presence. Ideally, I wanted kind of a jack of all trades here, something with decent speed and that could attack on either side, go mix if needs be. Give me priority, give me grounded poison, give me a fighting type, give me Toxicroak. I've never used Toxicroak almost ever, almost exclusively. I've barely used it on the ladder, but I think it has a lot of potential here. Poison fighting is a very nice typing, it gives me a fair amount of weaknesses. My team has a lot of typings that I have more weaknesses than resistances. Ground, fighting, fairy, these are things that are going to hit me quite hard. Fighting is something I'm especially afraid of. But I think that Toxicroak is a very nice addition. Like I say, I wanted grounded poison, fighting is such a good type to have, and it just gives me a very, very potent attacker on both sides. You know, Swords Dance, Nasty Plot, I think it gets both. It can attack both sides with an attack of 106 and a special attack of 86, which is not bad. I will take that. It's one higher than Jellicent, and we've already said what that can do. And 85 speed is not horrible either. So, that's the team I ended up drafting. Tyrantrum, Whimsicott, Magneton, Espeon, Jellicent, Kangaskhan, Sandslash, Rotom-Frost, Absol, Omastar, and Toxicroak. I'm excited to use this team. There are a lot of Pokemon here that I love. There are a lot of Pokemon here that I haven't got a lot of use out of before. I'm excited to upload these battles. Like I say, I haven't uploaded competitive Pokemon content in such a long time. It's going to be great to get back to it. I'm not sure when the uploads will be. They'll probably be sort of Sunday, Monday time every week. My first battle hopefully will be going up quite soon. But let me know what you think of the draft. I'm excited for it, and I hope you are too. But that's going to be everything from me. I've rambled far too long, so thank you all very much for watching. I do hope that you've enjoyed. Keep an eye out for those battles going up hopefully in the not too distant future. And that is going to be that. Thank you for the TBL for having me along for the ride. Their links will be down in the description below. Make sure you check out the Twitch Battle League. They are, as I say, the Twitch Battle League. A lot of the battles in said league will be live streamed over on Twitch. You can find the links in the description. I highly recommend going and checking them out. Some battles have already happened, and they've been very exciting. I'm really excited for it. So you should definitely go and do all that stuff. You can also find my links in the description. Both my Twitter links will be down there. Everything, all good. Make sure you check out all the links there. It's going to be a fun time. But, as I say, I'm going to get out of here. I haven't rambled on for far too long. So my final thank you to you all for watching. And I guess with that, I'll see you next time. Laters.